at WLFE-DB.com for upcoming shows and so much more.
Hey everyone, it's Tuesday night again. You know what that means, don't you? It's time to join Mike and Christy for another episode of Where's My Sage? A show hosted by a psychic medium and a guy on a quest to find Bigfoot. Who would have thought? Together, they will take you on all sorts of adventures, and not with lots of different people. Christy even gives readings. It's time to sit back, get up and get ready. You can't sample the universe sitting down. Your hosts are waiting. Come on, let's go!
Welcome all to Where's My Sage? I'm Mike with my wonderful co-host, Christy London. How are you doing this evening, Christy?
Well, let the voice speak for itself. How are you doing? I sound more manly than you do tonight.
Well, that's not too hard to do some days. I'm doing. Had a couple of days off, binged watched that wonderful Cobra Kai, as you found out, and it's been an interesting little. Yeah, it was really, really addicting. It was like 60 hours of craziness. But it was weird because I kept getting messages from old martial arts Kung Fu brothers and my other buddy that were really
spiritual messages.
No,
just
like it was just weird. Like they reached out, like old martial arts instructor who's busy filming his own show, and we can never get together. And it was like, hey, where were we there? And another guy. So it was just really weird. The whole kung fu karate mix of stuff that came in.
That's awesome.
I don't know.
Well,
Crazy.
Everything happens for a reason. My question is, were you paying attention?
Oh, no. Do I ever pay attention to what you tell me I'm supposed to pay attention to? I don't pay attention to anything anybody says. So, it's been a kind of an interesting. We apologize for not being here last week. I was definitely a little under the weather. That's an easy way. I'm not looking. Yeah.
Awesome.
And so, I'm doing the share stuff over here. So, So,
do your
folks.
Thing.
Yeah. Please like, share, subscribe. If you're listening to the audio, please hit those likes and those shares on Spreaker, Spotify, iTunes, and the whole mix, Amazon. If you're listening to the audio, again, we're coming to you tonight from our Facebook pages and our YouTube pages, as well as Christy's business page and Tactical Bigfoot Research. So we're all around, and WLFE on YouTube, on Stream TV. So about 8 different locations. So if you don't see some of the questions coming up or comments, we're in there. But the best place always is to hit our 2 Where's My Sage on Facebook and YouTube. So we could quick a couple of hellos as folks are in. So please like and share the show tonight. It is going to be a doozy. So hi Carrie. So what's going on? I know you got you got your voice, but what else is going on your end? Anything new?
No, not right now. I'm not working on anything at the moment. I got back into teaching, so that's been fun. The last piece of the puzzle since my dad. So that's been felt good to get back into doing that again. Picked up some new people, and it's been interesting, and it always keeps me on my toes. So that's always a good thing. And I don't know. You and I are supposed to have an adventure this weekend, but I don't know if that's going to happen yet. It's been a while, so stay tuned, everybody, because you know how it would be a 5-hour car ride?
Yeah, it's going to be
Michigan, but at least
it's going to be a 5-hour car ride. And if we get down there's some crazy former guests. I hope to get in the back of the car, do a little Bigfoot, and look for some fairies, look for some paranormal stuff. So there's definitely definitely an interesting run on things tonight.
And it'll be a new place for me because I've never been. You are familiar with it, which is great. So I'm excited because this place is a plethora of different happenings,
interesting things,
experiences, and I can't wait. It might send me into overdrive. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. It's definitely an interesting area. I can't figure out where to put these headphones tonight. So, Jen, your answer is yes. I did win something that I didn't really want to win, but yes, I did win something. So go for me. So we gotta guess. Oh, I can see it already. That's awesome.
You didn't see that? You didn't see that?
Trying to take care of the tech end of things, but that is awesome.
He's awesome. He's this guy put up with me running up on him when he probably thought he was gonna have a break at Michigan Paragon. The poor guy walks out of the room and I was like, oh, I've been trying to meet him for like 2 years. I run up to him. He was so sweet. I was like, can I just take your picture? I'm from Buffalo, blah, blah. And he was like, of course. He was humoring me the whole way. It was great. He's a sweetheart. He's been on a lot of different shows. He does a lot of different things.
And who's coming on?
Yeah, well, I was going to give him a little bit of an intro, but like usual, Mike jumps the gun. So
I'm not jumping the gun. I'm going to sit back. Your turn to do
this
introductions
was like
tonight.
a segue into like introducing him.
Oh,
but,
okay.
hey,
I thought that was your intro.
We might as well just bring him on. So we have Brian J. Cano on tonight. And for those of you who don't know, he has been on Travel Channel. He's done work for SyFy Channel, History Channel, all different shows, Paranormal Con on Camera. Okay, there's Brian.
That is awesome.
You know what? I know.
Hello. We're talking Coca Cola tonight.
Yeah, it's
all right.
That's
Excellent.
fantastic.
Excellent.
Love it.
Let's do it.
Awesome.
I've never been pulled into a show like that, and boy, relive the 80s. I thought I was going to get myself after the Ghostbusters, but boy, that really brought back a lot of memories. So.
Yeah, it did. I wasn't even into it. My youngest daughter was watching it, and she's like, you would really like this because this is like from your time. I was like, what does that mean? So I was like, no, it's not. But then before I know it, we were like 5 episodes in. I'm like, all right, let's do this. Watch it.
It's a very bingeable show. Incredibly
really
bingeable. You get hit with a one more, and they're 29 minutes. So you breeze through them, and you could tell that the people who produced the show, not only did you have the two mains coming back, the producers and the directors themselves were big Karate Kid fans. So they said, how are we going to honor the past while still building a story that's interesting for the present? And they ride that line where there's a lot of nostalgia, but it's not in a way that panders to the audience, which I appreciate.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And my daughter was laughing because every time I saw somebody else pop up or walk in or whatever, I was like, oh my God, they're in it too. Oh my God. She's like, oh my God, Mom. I enjoyed it.
Craziness. Like I said, I ended up knocking off the whole series in one weekend, and I'd been avoiding it forever. And I'm like, oh, it's not going to be. And I'm like, oh, it's bad.
So yeah, I watched the show when you had to pay to watch it on YouTube Red.
Yeah,
that was I would go binge the show, cancel. Oh, season 2, sign up, binge it, cancel. It was the only thing going on YouTube Red.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's a smart way to do it. It's like when you have all the different TV. You go with Spectrum or Adelphia Cable or Dish. As soon as your deal runs out, you go to the next best deal. And
yeah. I mean, you never know. It's the same thing with the the whole Jedi, the Mandalorian thing. That. Yeah, that'll be my next run because I got a friend on that new Boba Fett show. So it's like, oi. So Brian, thank you for joining us this evening as I throw everybody into a mix. Like I said, we will never stay on the straight path. Way out.
We should probably just put it out there because I am noticing that there are some people asking questions. Tonight is not a reading show, unless Brian wants to do some readings. That's not Brian's thing, though, right? So, no, not this week. I'm sorry. Just so you know. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So how we'll get the official spin-off, the main questions out of the way, and then we'll really dive down the journey hole. How did you get into this wonderful field?
These questions. I mean,
no, we can keep with those.
Ooh,
the hats
down
of the
to
job.
business. I like it.
down to the business. How did I get started? It's hard to pin an exact date on it because every time I speak aloud, my journey started in 2002 with a show called Scared on Staten Island. I forget that I was always into these topics when I was a kid. And when I was 10 years old, the movie Ghostbusters came out. So that inspired me. It excited me. It was just a cool movie. And up until that point, when you would watch any kind of paranormal topic, be it on TV or in the movies, it was always dark. It was always, you're going to die, you're going to lose, everyone's going to be murdered. The Omen, The Exorcist, there was just no positive examples in Ghostbusters, even though it was a comedy with SNL alum. The takeaway messages were, one, you can handle these things with tech. And two, their motto, we're ready to believe you. And even though it's not something that I would use immediately, I love the real Ghostbusters cartoon for a kid's show. It dealt with some pretty adult themes at times. And one of the writers, J. Michael Straczynski, who's also the creator of Babylon 5, Sense8, and has written for dozens of TV projects, you could tell that the writers did their research. You look back on that cartoon today and you see an episode with Cthulhu, you see an episode with vampires and werewolves, you see one where there's the trope of the man who never reached home, and all those stories which were being fed to me in an entertainment way as I was a kid growing up, in addition to shows like In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy. All these things just, I guess, formed a foundation, formed a base of interests that when I finally did start doing this actively, because I went through a very skeptical phase throughout college. I started things out as a skeptic. As children believe in everything. You get to adulthood and you kind of pick your side. And probably, Christy, you would identify this with, and even you too, Mike, when we were talking just before the show about how you got into squatching. When I first started, I was very much a staunch skeptic. 20 years down the line, I'm now a skeptical believer. And the Brian of 2002 and the Brian of 2022 are very different people. And we would probably clash greatly if we were to ever meet somehow. And you can't be in the paranormal for any great length of time and not be changed by it. You have to evolve. You have to grow. Sometimes Daniel LaRusso has to work with Johnny. It's how
Right.
Full circle.
What made you such a skeptic? What made you such a skeptic after having such a belief and having such a foundation, as you say? Because if you're building a foundation, obviously you were interested and it was something that set with you, right?
True. But that's the thing. That's there has to be a separation between fantasy and reality. And as a kid, you have Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, Jesus, insert deity figure here. And as you get older, it's revealed to you that one by one, oh, sorry, that's your parents. Oh, that's not real. Oh, that's not real. And you're left. Yes, sorry to break it to you. And ironically, of all those things getting taken off the list, we usually hang on to one for dear life. We don't let it go. We'll go to war for it. That's all I'll say about that. But I, around college time, found myself very jaded, very skeptical, you could say it was a crisis of faith. It seemed like much of the traditions in society just made no sense. I'm like, why am I doing this? Why are we just because it's come before? And I found myself I almost painted myself into a corner, so to speak. I kind of isolated myself from all the things that I once found refreshing. And because of that, as you asked, well, what about that foundation? Again, having all those things revealed to me as being false. I also grew up with Star Wars and had been trying to use the Force for years with no luck. So I'm like, yeah, none of this is real. I can't go for that. And my attitude as the skeptic when I first came into it was, all right, if these things are as real as everyone says they are, I should be able to pick it up with a camera. I should be able to experience it easily. And for that first cable access show called Scared on Staten Island, I was the skeptic. And my buddies and friends, it was more of an urban exploration than a paranormal investigation at the start, because this was 2002. There was no Ghostbusters. There's no Ghost Hunters.
Right.
There wasn't Ghostbusters either. There was no Ghostbusters, no Ghost Hunters, no Ghost
Right.
Adventures. Put Ghost and anything after it didn't exist yet. So we didn't really think methodically in that fashion yet, but we brought along some old school tools, toy cars, chalk, baby powder, the old methods. And
Right.
you go into these abandoned places just trying to find some evidence, something to say, I want an experience. I want to believe, but you've got to show it to me. And in the beginning, I was very much the skeptic.
Yeah. Interesting. I know somebody else is like that.
What you're talking about?
His eyes get real wide.
Yeah. What you're talking about? You know, the whole tool kit over here of how to break things down and say they're machines and not something else. You know. So what was that thing that really kind of said, man, I need to look at this thing a little differently? You know, the one, you know, that breeze, that touch, that thing that walks in front of you that says, oh, well, maybe something's there.
For me, it wasn't one specific event. It wasn't one happening or one experience that just turned the light on and made me reevaluate things. It was a lot of little things. And despite being skeptical for so long, we continued doing our show. We expanded, we grew, and we just had such a good time in the exploration, in the camaraderie. And back in the early 2000s, and we were on the cusp of something that was happening that today a lot of people take it for granted. You put on Discovery Plus, you have dozens of shows that you could watch at any moment. But back then, there really wasn't much. And there's like maybe 2-3 major shows on, and everyone started being able to talk about it. And I have to give them a lot of credit, because before then, this wasn't the paranormal. It was the occult. And if you were into it, it was very much a fringe pursuit. And you really didn't talk about this at the water cooler. You didn't talk about this openly with friends. You had just a couple people who were like, yeah, I believe in ghosts. You couldn't say that. Now you say, oh, I'm a paranormal investigator. Even the skeptics will be like, oh, I don't believe in that. Oh, but wait, hold on a second. I got a picture I want to show you. Hold on, let me find it. Everyone wants to believe. Everyone wants to be a part of the story. And now it's we still have a long way to go, but we've started on the road to greater acceptance, and it's being talked about. And that's actually what I love about being on Paranormal Caught on Camera, because it starts the conversation and it gets us talking about all these different topics.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I was at a conference full of law enforcement folks a couple months back, and we were in a haunted, alleged haunted location. And, hey guys, you want to go grab dinner? So, no, we want you to start doing an investigation here. I'm like, dude, I brought stuff to go look for Bigfoot and my material to present. I am not here to do a paranormal investigation. And, by the end of the conference, like, hey, next year, can we do a ghost hunt here? And I'm like, yeah, if you talk to the owners of the hotel, but,
yeah,
and that was the conference, the guy running the conference. And here I got 60 cops going, can we do it? Can we do it? Can we do it? And,
there's a lot of police, there's a lot of law enforcement in the paranormal. And it's great because every vocation, every job brings a certain discipline to the work that is needed. To be a good paranormal investigator, there's elements of psychology, sociology, philosophy, theology, all the ologies. You need all those disciplines to really round yourself out. It's not just running around in the dark chasing ghosts.
Yeah, it's true. Do you find that, because as people, right, like you said earlier, how can you be so involved in this field, regardless of what, but especially the paranormal, and not change and not grow from it, right, in some way? Because as people, we all are capable of all these different things, right? These gifts, and even if it's just simple things, you grow and you don't even realize it. Do you think that the ability of our society to accept what's going on around us and be more open is allowing people to finally accept that there's more to us as human beings rather than just paranormal, to wrap the spiritual with the paranormal.
I think that it's not so much something anchored in time. It's more about the openness of the conversation. And the reason I say this is we live in an age of social media where information comes 24/7 within seconds. Something happens, it's out there. Whereas before, there was a much slower process. And in that process, there was vetting going on. There was fact checking. There were things. Now someone could say something, I've got an opinion, boom, all of a sudden it becomes fact somewhere. Just look over the past year or two, we've been living in a world that is very polarized with opinions. And when it comes to the paranormal, it's not like people haven't believed or haven't had their opinions. You just didn't talk about it. And I always
Like
ask
everything
people,
else, right?
when I do my lectures, I say, okay, guys, for those of you who remember, what are the two things that you do not talk about in polite society? What are they?
Politics and religion.
Politics and religion. And what is the paranormal? Essentially politics and religion. And here we are on the precipice of this endeavor where we're putting our hand up and saying, all right, let's hash it out. Let's talk about it. And more often than not, we're not even getting to the details of the minutia of these things. Like, we're no closer to getting any formulas drafted up, or no closer to getting any values assigned to these things, but we're constantly dealing with each other. It's a veritable United Nations of black shirt teams all over the world, just kind of doing and saying and being. And the plus side to that is that we're talking, we're getting it out there. Even when we fight, even when we argue, all right, there's a tug of war of this conceptual matter. And the TV shows a lot of times throw out a concept and then leave it to us to fight it out in the trenches. But so far, I mean, it's gotten people doing, it's gotten people talking. And I don't think I fully answered your question before, Mike, about
that's okay. I was struggling to word it correctly as well, but I think what I was getting at was more of the spiritual and wrapping it up in paranormal, because I always see them as two things that kind of come together. For instance, I guess where my thought process was coming from on that was, mentoring now for a bunch of years. My oldest mentees, I guess, was actually, I had a lady in her 70s, well into her 70s. My youngest was 18, and everyone in between. So I find it enlightening and refreshing that people are of all different backgrounds, cultures, generations, are nowadays comfortable with coming out and saying, yes, these things are happening. Much like you said, people would just never felt like they could talk about it. Just like you didn't talk about alcoholism back in the day because that was just normal, or whatever the case is. Once upon a time it was taboo. So I just think that's kind of what I was getting at, to say, just for people in general.
Well, it wasn't so much your question that I didn't answer. It was Mike's question about what changed me. And I call them grains of sand, where when I was a skeptic, it wasn't one event that changed me. It was lots of little things. And every experience I have, I equate to a grain of sand, because by itself, a grain of sand doesn't look like much. You go, and you drop it to the ground. And as time passed, I looked down at the floor, and metaphorically, I was standing on a beach composed of all those little grains of sand, and I had to consider what that meant. So these days, I'm now a skeptical believer in that I know the phenomena exists. It's the people who report it that I'm skeptical of. And,
like that.
To your point, Christy, now that we're talking about it, when no one was talking about it, there was no need for an evaluation or do I believe you or not. There was no need for fact checking because no one was talking about it. But now that everyone's talking about it, what's truth? What's fact? Where do we go from here?
Love it.
With all this, and it changed. No, it's one of those days. My brain's been a little goofy the last week and a half.
Just lately.
Yeah. Ooh, this is what makes our show. Wait for a road trip. Watch what happens with us in the car. So when you're looking at this and you're saying you're a skeptical believer, do you keep a set of data points that you look at when you're saying, okay, I'm going to do, maybe we've seen this particular phenomenon show up here, here, and here. So when I look at some evidence, yep, this is here. I'm big into the data collection and using different, data analyzation in Excel or some of the other access to set up a pattern so I can look at the data to see, hey, this has happened before, or is this the right to left kind of thing that always seems to be more of a hoaxy kind of set of materials.
Data is very important, the collection and interpretation of it, and that is currently what is lacking with so many of the teams, because again, there's a monkey see, monkey do mentality out there that they watch the shows, they imitate without necessarily understanding. And sure, maybe because everyone has to start somewhere. If they're doing things and just running around and doing it and not collecting the data, not analyzing what that could mean and what it means for everyone else, and we have to start pooling our data. We have to start sharing our data. Scientific method says peer review is important, and no one's really doing that because there's still, even to this day, 20 years later, a lot of territoriality about things. This is my location. This is my spot. We got Yahoo's out there touting para-unity, but making locations exclusive to just them. And I'm thinking, what is going on? Oh, right, the human condition. But as far as data goes, it's important to get it all down. And I'm good with it, but I'm not always quick with it. So I know it's going to, I mean, I've been in this game for 20 years now. I still am not at a place where I can comfortably say, this number equals that. We just don't have enough data. However, here's where the evolution comes in. Back at the beginning, rough. Back at the beginning, I was, thank you for muting. I was, and I still am, I still consider myself the scientist of the group because I think very analytically. There is not, and again, this all comes down to length of time in the paranormal. I started doing a documentary series called The Paranormal Compendium, and I wanted to have interviews with some real tech heads, with real people who could give me numbers and figures, like the real meat, tactical manual stuff that would bore most people, but that I wanted at least to be presented. And when I went to go talk to those people, Gary Galka was one of them, I was expecting numbers and facts and matrixy things coming down. But all the people that I talked to started talking about spirit and connection and emotion. And you can't be in this field for an extended amount of time and not learn that it takes both sides, the analytical brain and the spiritual soul part. It's where we're spirits in a material world. So we have to remember to approach it as such, because any less and we're missing some big details. And that's true with the love and lighters too, or love and light, and no, like you need to be feet on the ground, but yes, love and light as well.
I love it. You and I think so similarly, and I appreciate that very much.
It worked up.
So you've worked with mediums, correct?
I'm sorry?
You've worked with mediums in the past, correct?
Not just
paranormal crews. So I have always found that, people who have never worked with a medium, it throws them off. Because we come at it from a different perspective. And, some mediums can do this and say, I can be a paranormal investigator, and it's on mine too. I'm a paranormal investigator, but I'm a medium first because that is who I am. And that's what my responsibility is in this life. So everything I do and the way I'm going to come at something is using my gifts first. But I always refer to my dental background and say, paranormal investigators, right, and mediums were like a root canal and a crown. I hate when dentists don't tell people when you get a root canal, you need a crown to protect that tooth, right? So it's the same idea. You need each other because we work so differently, but we can work together so well too. Because my thing is, there are times where, I'll be in a location, and you know, the lights are going off and everyone's having a good time, and you know, the equipment's happening, but I have spirit in my ear telling me something that contradicts what's going on. So it always fascinates me to see how we can analyze things, because how would we really know? Because spirit lies. Spirit can be tricky. Spirit can just have fun with us. Do you know what I
That's
mean?
true.
So
That
that's always interesting for me, you know.
and
What do you
and
think about
that's
that?
the thing. That same thing is with people. The one thing that I've noticed, a lot of newer groups will come in and they're like, we don't work with psychics. We're scientific. And again, like I said, you're missing half the equation. But that being said, how does one vet a psychic or a medium? We have to kind of
Right.
just, find someone you trust. There's really no way to say, here's an accuracy scale, because we don't know. We can't judge this just yet. Um, but I've developed something, myself and my buddy Chris Mancuso long ago, called the 3 pillar system. When you're investigating, the best way to come at it is with the 3 pillars: psychic, scientist, skeptic. 3 different viewpoints to make a more well-rounded investigation. Where the skeptic doesn't believe and needs a lot, and
Yeah.
the psychic believes and doesn't need any proof. One is looking to prove, one is looking just at belief. But the scientist in the middle, which is what I identify, doesn't look to prove or disprove. We look to measure. And I see someone in the chat asked, how can we develop data on something that is unproven? Well, it's called science. you know, what's this? How can we have this when no one's had this before? We find a way. And the more data we have, the more data we collect, eventually, not next week, but down the line, maybe we'll have enough to make a hypothesis that bears out. But the difficult part here, and Christy, you can attest to this, the X factor in this equation, which makes hard science impossible in the paranormal, is the human condition.
Hmm.
You can't draft a formula that equals me. How many ones and zeros would you have to line up to equate Brian? And then how many of those ones and zeros would you have to change to make Mike or Christy? It's
Hmm.
just there's something in that, I guess, is the soul, spirit element, whatever that spark that gives us life, that
Right.
will make it very hard. Because if it comes down to perspective or opinion, that's not science. That's just
Mhm.
it's an immutable fact, but
Right.
it's not really measurable. So how do we come to it?
Right. Yep. Love it.
And that's why we have 2 scientists on that team.
I was just going to say, we approach it from the same way. Absolutely. Absolutely. Love it.
So when you're given that evidence, and is there times that you go, your gut, man, this is kind of weird, and then go find some folks that are specialists, or do you try to do your own due diligence ahead of time before you're going to grab an expert to really look at a piece of evidence to say yes, no, and maybe, and then I have a kind of circle back to collecting that data that you mentioned before?
There's a lot. There's a lot of springboards from that. This is some good questions, some good talking points on this, Mike. Um, the role of a parapsychologist, and I'm very steeped in parapsychology, the study of the mind and mind abilities. Now, parapsychology does not equal ghost hunting, even though 3 out of the 4 Ghostbusters were parapsychologists. Uh, the study of parapsychology really doesn't concern itself with spirit. They focus on the mind. And one of the first questions that one would ask as a parapsychologist is it authentic? Okay, a report comes in. Is it authentic? Can we find some logical reason that caused this? And as my favorite fictional consulting detective always quipped, once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. So, okay, once you've gone through that and you're like, I can't find any rational explanation. All right, maybe this is paranormal. Step 2, how does it work? Now, all right, we've gotten a report, something strange is happening. Okay, we determine it's paranormal. How is it working? Is it spirit? Is it mind power? And you mentioned gut. A lot of studies in parapsychology deal with ESP. And when you talk about extrasensory perception, it sounds very mystical, very, whoa, this is crazy. But we hear it termed in other ways that we accept better: women's intuition, a cop's hunch, just, I've got a feeling. We receive information in many different ways. And when it comes to things like that, is it us receiving? Is it somebody else sending? How are we going through all these things? So, I mean, when I get a report, I will try to break it down 6 ways to Sunday uh, for what it could be. The failing here, and especially for every video that I watch on Paranormal Caught on Camera, it comes down to one major weakness. I wasn't there. I wasn't there. So I have to take it on trust that the person telling me these facts is giving it to me exactly how it happens. And uh, again, a lot of the rules when it comes to reports, and again, you'll be familiar with this from law enforcement. The longer amount of time that elapses between the actual event and the reporting of it, sometimes facts get a little fuzzy, sometimes details change, sometimes they forget things. Um,
Mhm.
Innocently enough,
Yeah.
and important details that are really needed until we start USBing our brains and being able to download the memory into a hard drive. We have to take it on the experience to be as accurate as possible, and I can only be as accurate as they are to me.
Well, and discernment is huge, right? Sorry. Haha, I beat you to it. But discernment is huge, right? Discernment in being able to define certain things and not react, but respond. So to something we see or something that we feel or something that we're, experiencing, but we can't make a connection with it, whether it's a feeling. Um, That's a huge part of it for me, I think. Even as a paranormal investigator, you can't look like I had mentioned to you one time. I saw you on, I don't even remember which show it was, but there was a lot of opinions about this picture, right?
Mm.
And everyone automatically, and then when you look at it, yeah, absolutely, you think it was scary and it was a bad thing, and the whole time I was looking at this picture, I'm taking it all in, and I'm saying, no, this has nothing to do with scary. This has nothing to do with, this was innocent. This was protective. This was whatever. But if you looked at this picture that they were presenting, it definitely spoke to the wrong. 3 people came on
Mm.
this show, right, and said, oh yeah, this could be because of this, and I'm like, oh no, not again. And then here you were the last one, and you said, I don't think that this was, and I was like, yes. I'm sitting in my bed watching TV going,
Yeah.
yes, that's right. Because it, you jump to the conclusion that feels right, right, by what you see, using the senses that feel the right, the best or most accurate to you in the time, but you don't take in everything about it. Now, not everyone can feel everything and pick up on things as well, but you can't just jump to a conclusion because there's a blurry, or distorted figure in a picture that it's bad just because it looks scary,
Oh, the
you
blurry
know?
face. He doesn't care what we think. Um, and that's the thing. It comes down to experience too. The longer you do the work, obviously, probably the more you've seen, the more you're able to compare things. And when it comes to the television shows, they're entertaining. They're for entertainment. Be entertained. Enjoy them. But remember, they're not documentaries. They are not procedural manuals. They're there to give you a good scare and to show some things and to make the network some ad dollars. There's a partnership between the paranormal people and the producers, and for a while they align and you do your projects, but when it comes down to it, they've got an entirely different set of goals than we do. And unfortunately, it comes down to things like demons get people to tune in. So that's why you see it happening as frequently. So God forbid someone gets scratched on the back. Oh my God, there's 3 scratches. You know what that means? Well, does it? Is it? Are you sure about that? There's always another explanation, but
Yeah,
the producers want to go for the quickest, easiest bang, and
right.
and I can't fault them for it. They're not here to prove anything. They're just here to make a product and sell ad space. Uh,
Hmm.
so I think people have to be a lot more forgiving and, yes, a lot more discerning about what they watch, but the TV shows are just the beginning. If it's a location, if it's a new piece of gear, if it's a new process, I've seen
Mhm.
all these things evolving over the years. That's where you start, but then go into the field, read, get mentored,
Mhm.
go to an event, see it firsthand. And this is a perfect segue. This is what inspired me to start my History of the Paranormal mobile exhibit, because so many people watch the TV shows, don't necessarily understand the whys of what they're watching, or realize that, sure, you're seeing an hour of a show, which is 45 minutes, 41 minutes after commercials. These people are probably there 3-4 days doing what they're doing. This is just a whittled down version. There's a lot of process that goes into it,
Oh,
that
yeah.
to do it correctly, you need to understand that. And
There
hey,
it is.
History of the Paranormal going to be in Grafton, Ohio, this June 22nd through 25th. My special guest will be Mike Ricksecker. Mike is a fountain of knowledge. He's very knowledgeable. He's on the show The Alaska Triangle. He's written tons of books. I'm happy that I can now say I'm going to be an author along with him, so I'll have less book envy. But we're going to be doing an event in Grafton, Ohio this summer. That my the displays take you through a little bit of history of the paranormal. It's the foundation. So if you've watched any of the shows, you can always say, well, why are they doing that? Oh, I don't know. Well, why are you doing that? I don't know. Well, come on in here. We'll teach you a little bit about what came before. Talk about the spiritualist movement, the Fox sisters. Then we can move into different areas.
We're right here.
Oh,
Right.
there's so many things. And again, and I saw someone in the chat ask about it. The paranormal is not just ghosts and spirits. It's
Mhm.
ufology. It's cryptozoology. It's an umbrella term that I really feel there's a unifying theory for all of the things, and it's worth talking about. And the more knowledge we have, um, I like to have these events and hold little ghost hunts at them, so that I can give these little pieces of knowledge. And after you walk through the exhibit, say you saw or learned 10 new names, you'll probably remember one or two of them, but you're going to leave remembering the story about that one or two other historical figures that you'll then tell to your friends, and we could all start elevating together. That
Right.
foundation will get stronger and stronger over time, because the TV shows, they just don't have time to get into it. They got to
Yep.
get to the next commercial, they got to get to the next jump scare, and then they have to do the little replay. But it's not
Yeah.
their job to do it. It's ours, and it's our responsibility to get that
Get out
information
there.
out there.
I love it.
Getting worked up again.
That's right.
Awesome.
Love it.
So, like I said, you're big into data, you're big into that collection. How do you keep that data on your end, for you to use it? I mean, I can see just like, yeah, that it's
Old. Behind that, you can see an iMac screen. Old. I'm on an iMac right now. New. Other old. It's computers and computers. There you can't see it, but tapes and tapes and tapes. So much information. Populated contrary belief. I'm not Bruce Wayne. I don't have millions of dollars and live in a mansion. I gotta store all this stuff in little crates and shoe boxes, and I don't have time to often go through all of it as much as I'd like. But it's getting collected. It's getting collected. And as far as, like, I don't know how you keep your EVP files, but I'm horrible at taking them off of my recorder, and I have one of those old Olympus ones that doesn't have a USB port. So
oh
I have to
yeah.
do it with the aux cable, and
Yeah.
which, unless it's something amazing, I don't do. So when that recorder gets filled up, it gets retired. Next one comes into service. I have a whole shoebox filled with recorders.
Well, at least you have them saved. At least you have them. That's what matters, right?
It's like it could be
Somewhere around
well
here.
in there, but I would never know.
I have a bunch of external hard drives. That's usually where I run. So
Those too. Mm-hmm.
there's the man. Good evening, John. How are you doing this evening? There he goes, getting in
John.
trouble again. So, but let's say you get something you're going to do. Okay, we'll use my topic of Bigfoot. So you get footage or something like that.
Footage,
Do you have
very nice
something?
one. I love it.
something that you can go back and kind of say, yeah, we've seen that before, or, even a picture, yeah, we've seen this particular ghost kind of thing. I'm a student of Steve Culls and stuff like that, and using different formulas like TinEye or Google Lens or something like that. Do you use a lot of that kind of stuff? Or like you said, do you have your own database to say, maybe I'm going to go compare those pictures of that video and say, yeah, that's already been done, or it's already been there, where it's a good evidence that we can kind of set that up,
For me, it's very analog. I mean, I've got JPEG files, I've got sound files, I've got different video files that I've put together, and it's poorly organized. That's probably my weakness, because as I keep doing, I don't have an Alfred to take care of the Batcave while I'm out doing my thing. And as far as future processes, as equipment continues to evolve, as new methods and new computers, and we have higher resolution cameras. Back when I first started, and I sound like an old man, I sound like Ziggity at this point. Back when I first started, it was standard definition. 320 by 460. What was it? It's square TV screen, and just you had what you had. Now we're shooting in 4K or 8K. That's crazy. And here's one of the things, like on Paranormal Caught on Camera, a lot of old videos, a lot of blurry videos, and people will be like, "Oh, come on, why can't it be clearer?" And then we get the clearer footage. You're like, "Oh, that's too clear. That's fake." We'll never be satisfied. So it's the individual journey, not so much the evidence, because there's no photo I could show you, no EVP I can play for you, no video I can queue up that will convince you, unless you are willing to accept.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
I agree 100%.
So we got a question from the audience. Is the history exhibit a 3-day event or a 1-day repeat for 3 days?
Sharon, good question. For the one in Grafton, and every History of the Paranormal exhibit event is slightly different, but the way we're conducting this one, it's actually going to be open during the week. I would love it if people just came for the educational aspect of the exhibit, because that's what it's for, but because we have to pay the bills too. Friday night and Saturday night, we're having some extra content, where Friday night will be workshops. So both Mike Ricksecker and myself will be lecturing on topics related to investigating, which you can then put into action the next night on the investigation, the ghost hunt that we're going to have at Grafton.
It's really cool.
So the exhibit will be the same. It's going to be the same museum there for the entire run, but the ancillary portion on Friday and Saturday nights will be different.
Awesome. As we're in between,
that sounds great.
Thoughts, we're going to do a quick commercial. So, folks, if you want to run, grab something to drink, run to the bathroom, we got about a minute and a half here for the quick commercial break. So we'll be right back with Where's My Sage and Brian, Christy, and myself. So that quick.
WLFE-DB.com, where you can find vodcast shows, podcasts, and more, like Where's My Sage, Inside the Drag Closet, Across the Pond, Paratalk Radio, Just Cindy, and more. So go check out WLFE-DB.com, where talk radio is a whole lot better. Our shows are your shows, and that there makes for a great talk radio.
Hey guys and dolls, this is Casey DeVille, the better half of DeVille Inc., Baltimore, Maryland. If you're ever in Baltimore, stop in and see me and Tony. Invisible Bree, 5920 Eastern Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21224. Give us a call if you're in the area at 410-400-9641, or look us up on the web at DeVilleInc.com. DeVille Inc., where we specialize in you.
Ted Van Son Jr. is a seasoned investigator and well-versed in the ways of paranormal investigation. He is now ready to share his ideas and unique approach with all of you. Flashlight, recorder, and comfortable shoes. Hit the ground running as you follow this easy step-by-step guide to a fun and thorough paranormal investigation, perfect for first-time and lightly seasoned investigators. Think outside the paranormal box. Learn all about the technology and techniques used back in the early days of paranormal investigation. You can find these valuable resources online at Goodreads, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, and Amazon. Get yours today.
Hi, I'm Jenna Grover. In the world of fashion, we get lost in the cost. Everyone wants that special piece of quality jewelry, but they can't afford it. Not on my watch. I sell handmade quality jewelry for a fraction of the price, and that includes jewelry made of sea glass, natural stone, crystal beads, glass beads, Bigfoot jewelry, and more. If you don't see what you want, email me, because I make custom jewelry too. Check out my website at gbythesea.com. Also, you can email me at jewelry@gbythesea.com.
You're listening to WLFE DB Radio. Now, back to our program.
Hi, guys. Mike from Where's My Sage. We're here with my co-host, Christy London, and our special guest tonight, Brian Cano. So we've been kind of talking some really cool journey stuff. And do you get to do a lot of traveling with the show? And on your investigations, I mean, where's the kind of cool places you like to go and hang out and do things?
I'm a creature of inertia, so body at rest tends to stay at rest. Body at motion tends to stay in motion. So when I'm at home, it is sweatpants and couch and relaxation, and I'm lazy. But when I'm out there and I'm doing, and actually that's not true. When I'm home, I'm doing lots of work on whatever 15 projects I'm doing at once. But when I'm out on the road, I'm content to just keep going. Go from the next to the next to the next, and if it's I just did a convention here and I'm on my way home. Oh, what's a place I can drop in? Or what's a location that I've been to before? Let me go say hi to the caretaker because we're friends. And it's so many different places. And I've learned over the past several years that the paranormal, as much as it is about maybe looking into the dead, it's about the living. It's about the connections we make with friends and other people on their own journeys. And I think once you realize that, you'll stop asking questions like, "Do you know you're dead?" Which I can't anymore. Do you know you're dead?
Thank
Do you know you're an
you.
idiot?
Oh my God. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. I do. Yep. It's I don't know. Don't even get me started on that. I can't.
So have you found yourself when you're on investigations or joining between, you said you got, lots and lots of years of experience, the questions you asked at the beginning, if you're doing EVP compared to what you're asking now, is that energy different that you're getting back from those EVPs instead of like a static dead air? Or you feel like you're getting a little more from the universe coming back to you?
It is, because like any other gathering, if you walk into a room and there's a bunch of people just sitting there, maybe they just argued, maybe there was some kind of fight that happened moments before. When you walk in, you feel that energy like, oh, what just happened in here? I think I'm going to go back to my room. I'll see you guys later. Or you come in, they're all having a good time. There's a high energy. Like, oh, what's going on here? I want to be a part of this. The same with EVP. Nobody likes to be interrogated. And again, there's a lot of, monkey see, monkey do from the shows. They ask the questions. But in reality, all right, well, Christy, when she came and met me at the convention, she didn't run up to me and was like, "What's your name? What are you eating right now? How many came with you?" If that happened, I would have been like, oh. But she came to me, with respect. She came to me. She's like, "Oh, I don't want to bother you. I see you're eating. Oh my God." It's a connection, and we're making human connections. So I always tell people when I'm training them or at events, they're people. So be personable. If you give a bit of yourself, you'll get back. So instead of an interrogation of "tell me this, tell me that, tell me that," be like, "Hey, my name is Brian. I like this. My favorite color is. What's yours?" You start a conversation. And there's a lot of people out there who just like to hear themselves talk. you'll see they'll get less responses, or they're the ones who get the get out or the negative responses because they just want those people out of there.
Yeah. Or nothing at all, which is even worse or even better, depending on how you look at it. Why am I not getting anything? How come it never happens? And as a medium,
I mean,
I'm
believe me,
getting I'm not talking to this one, in my ear.
I went through the phase myself where, again, something happens to you when you become an investigator. You change in a very subtle but noticeable way, and that you don't speak like yourself. I speak like this all the time, so I'm a little weird anyway. But when you conduct an EVP session, you find yourself saying certain words, and I can make fun of these people because I've been on TV and I've been off of TV, and I even said that I used to say these words. You stand there in the dark with your audio recorder and you say, "Are there any spirits in here who wish to communicate? Please make your presence known." Who talks like that? Who talks like that? If I came on here, "Mike, it's very nice to make your acquaintance. Your posters on the wall are very pleasing." Like, of course, it's gonna be weird. You're like, this guy needs drugs now. So when you're doing an EVP session, just be yourself. Hey, Kristen, it's good to see you. How have you been?
I agree. And as much as I laugh really because I am the worst for freezing up when it comes to, as soon as it's like, I can just talk and just address spirit. It doesn't matter.
Well, she can talk.
Picking up on something. Really? But the recorder turns on and I'm like,
well, that's the
my
thing.
mind goes blank.
It happens because it even to this day, it happens to me. It's like, go. I don't know what to ask because, again, the conversation is easier when there's two people. But if you're just speaking to the emptiness, hoping to get a response, and remember, so many people are so stuck in the thought that, all right, I'm in a historical location. I have to talk historically. Only these three personalities are here because that's what the caretaker said lives here. Like, no, there's where we are, they are. Spirit is everywhere. So just half the time, the spirits you're interacting with when you go to any haunted location are either came with you or traveling about and don't necessarily need to be the ones that are posted up in that spot. So we have to be open to a lot of different modalities.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, almost all the shows are like, oh, it's the scariest place. Well, where's the most enjoyable, the most what am I looking for? Disney World of,
that's where I want to go.
Probably, yeah, but copyrighted kind of thing.
Locations.
But yeah, I mean, what haunted quote unquote haunted location have you been to that is
nice.
You feel good energy when you're at? I mean, I've been to some cemeteries that you're like, man, you can see they overlook a valley. You can tell like everybody there is just chilling and relaxed. And I've been to other cemeteries are like, man, I don't want to be there. And I'm sure the people that are buried in there, like going to certain nursing homes, you don't want to be there. But what have you been to a location that really, spins it a little different than that? Oh my God, everything is going to kill me that's here.
Along with people, as people evolve and realize that not everything is demon, there are just as many positive hauntings. I notice places, and again, places have to survive. So a lot of times they'll advertise the spookiest place, or this is the scariest, or as seen on this show when this person got possessed. I get it. I understand it. But there's other places where like, yeah, we love our spirits and they're here and we don't provoke them and they don't bother us. We don't bother them. We live in harmony. The Knickerbocker Hotel in Linesville, Pennsylvania, I can think is top of my list. Shanley Hotel, back when Sal was alive. I haven't been back there since. Shanley Hotel, there was very much a positive feeling when you went there. Not everything has to be dark and horrific. You can have positive experiences in the paranormal. It's
I really
very
want to
much
go there.
Put out. I always go. Most of my references are pop culture references, so I take you to The Empire Strikes Back, where Luke is going into the tree, and he goes, "What's in there?" He goes, "Only what you take with you," and that's so true. Case in point, I went to Bobby Mackey's several years ago. Bobby Mackey's. Oh, there's demons there. Don't go in the hole. You're gonna go. Brian, be careful. You're gonna get possessed. All right. Well, that's what the other guy did. That's not what I'm gonna do. I went there. I had an event. All of the people who came in attendance had a great time. We laughed. We danced. We investigated. We were just ourselves, and we were positive. So if there was anything negative there, it didn't bother us. It didn't come to us. But if you come in there thinking, demon, where are you? Well, guess what's going to happen?
Well, and going back to Heather's comment earlier too, don't provoke, be nice, and be respectful. Respect and gratitude always, especially as a medium. I was on an investigation one time with a group, and they're a decent group of guys, and they've been doing this a long time, but they never worked with a medium before. And unfortunately, some of the stuff that happened was, it shut it down. Joe!
Hey, brother.
Yay!
Joe's one of those people that I will divert to see. Joe's one of those, him and his sister are two positive people in the field that, again, even if I don't see them for years and years and years, I know they're up there holding it down, doing the work well. And I have to come and see the new digs, Joe.
Yes, you do.
Oh.
You really do. Absolutely. It's
blessed
phenomenal. It's awesome. It's awesome. I already done one show there myself. I'm doing another one in February. Oh yeah. It's
nice.
Yes, very nice.
We did our show there the night before. Yeah.
We did.
A couple weeks ago. Yeah. It was a really,
yes.
Joe's got a great place there. That venue is absolutely amazing. It was a great time. And we did our first show at Joe's.
Yes,
so we've done 2 shows from Joe's shop. So
did.
Paranormal Oddities, guys, if you're into Pew, stop in, see him.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I got to talk to you, Joe, because I need you to stock something in the store for me. So
I'm sure that probably won't be an issue for you. That's awesome.
Well, this is exactly what I'm saying. Look at the joy that we just experienced in this past moment, just talking about a friend that we have in common. These are the connections. These are the things that the paranormal can bring about. This is even though it's a sullied word, this is the para unity that could be. We don't agree always in politics or methods or things, but as long as we have respect for each other, and it sounds like I'm preaching now.
No, but it's true. It's the same stuff. But going back to the point I was trying to make a minute ago was that, spirit does not have to communicate with us. They don't have to talk with us. So, regardless of what a spirit has done in their life or what they did in their life and what they're known for, it doesn't matter. So if you treat them with respect and gratitude, and going back to what you said, is treating them like a person, or, and just going in there and being personable and being yourself, you will go much further. If you don't, if you go in there with the attitude of, well, they're dead and I'm not, and I want some answers, they're going to either mess with you or they're going to shut it down, and you're done. Your night's over before it even starts, and that's, you always have to remember the respect and gratitude is huge.
This is what I'm hoping for when I head later this year to Wales. A lot of people will go to Europe and go to these really old places and think, I don't know what to ask. I don't. It's so ancient, but spirit is as current as we are. They see what we're doing. They understand what we're about.
Yes, they do.
But I know I'm going to be overwhelmed with all the castles, with all the history. I'm going to be going out there with a group of people. There's still some spots available for anyone who's interested.
So that is up, guys, in the link. And a little later on, I will drop that into the comments. So Mysteries, USA Adventure Tours, and that's your Mystical Legends of Wales, correct?
And anything that I'm doing, whether it's with different companies or for myself, you can always go to my website, neverstopsearching.com, and all of that is linked straight into it. So it's your one-stop shopping for paranormal.
Love it. It's a nice little tie-in there.
Hey,
that's great.
We got this figured out.
So you did college. Now you're past
I did college.
You did college, right? I'm just shortening this up.
I did college. I do food. I eat. I sleep sometime.
So you went through your skeptical phase, right? So what came after that? How did you find yourself progressing in this field? What carried you along? What came next for you, and why?
All those grains of sand, little by little by little, I kept doing because it was just fun and it was something to do with my friends. And we were producing our show Scared and just going to the conventions and meeting people. Again, it was a very social thing, so it was fun. But as we were going along, I feel like there was a lot of like paranormal savings bonds that got deposited because they didn't mature until much later, and I was able to unlock them. And again, these grains of sand, which ironically, not even ironically, it's on purpose. The name of my upcoming book is called Grains of Sand: Tales of a Paranormal Life, and it's coming out next month. All of these things that I've learned didn't happen immediately. It took some time to process. It took some time for me to realize. And sometimes I didn't even realize it until I went back and looked and go, oh man, that was right in front of me and I didn't even see it. And in the book, I've got stories, tales about how I got into Haunted Collector, tales about this one and only demonic encounter I had. That's a 45-minute tale. It's tales about when I worked at the ad agency, and I had paranormal lessons there that I didn't realize until like maybe a year or two ago. We all have our individual grains of sand that we're receiving and dropping, or maybe even analyzing a little further. But if my tales and my growth can enlighten, or at least at the very least entertain someone else, then I guess I have purpose on this rock.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Speaking of rocks and sand, you got lucky enough to be on Oak Island. How was that?
I do have a tale, and it's funny
Ooh.
because I had to include a chapter about my time on Oak Island because I could be on 80 seasons of any other show. I appear on Oak Island once, and that's one of still the most popular questions people ask me because it really is a cool place. And you'll have to read the book for the full story, but I can tell you that I was on Oak Island for a day. The producers flew me out and then rushed me off. And I said, guys, I can stay. I can stay another day. No, you got to go. Well, do you need me to do any other pickups? No, you got to go. All right. This put a lot of pressure on me because, paranormal doesn't act on cue.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, please let something happen that I can demonstrate, because again, I'm on my own here. They're calling me out to do an investigation, and if it comes up with nothing, I'm gonna have egg on my face, and it's just gonna feel really crummy. But my call time was 10 o'clock. Got there at 10 o'clock. No one else was there because production isn't always on time. They push it back to 3. So I got to spend some time on the island by myself. But it was very much when I was out there, beautiful day, sun shining, glittering off the water. And I talked to the island. I said, look, here's who I am. It's what I'm here to do. I hope you can bless me with some sort of things. I don't mean any harm. I don't mean any disrespect, but can you help me out here? And it went the way it did. And some of the things that appeared on the show, we got better stuff than what appeared, and as is always. And you'll read about that.
Awesome.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah,
shout out to my buddy Matty Blake, who's the host of Drilling Down. Great guy. And again, I went out to Oak Island for a day, and I made a new friend, like a friend that I still have to this day.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, yeah, it's just that we crossed paths, and when we decided to put this podcast, this show together, I mean, it is our journeys and the people that we meet. I mean, we met all you guys up in Michigan. I mean, we've had multiple folks that have been on, and we did like 2 weekends. We did 2 different cons, and like those folks are like, that's who we're going to hang out with in PA next week or this week. Boy, that's what happens when you work a rotating schedule. You don't remember what day of the week it is anymore.
Sure, we'll go with that this time.
Yeah,
Michigan.
We'll use that excuse this time.
I love Michigan Paracon. It's such a great one.
Oh my gosh. Can't wait for next year. We're so excited. We had a great time.
Yep.
Yeah.
We might be. I know Brad's been wanting me to bring the history exhibit out there.
Oh.
That's a lot of work, but instead of that, we might be bringing out our Pathways project that I'm working on with Dustin Parry.
I wanted to ask you about that. I'm excited about this one.
So read, you do mind reading, because like literally I'm like, okay, how do we pull this one in? Whoa.
He is a professional.
Yes.
Yeah, I've done a show or two.
Yep. So again, anybody listening on the audio portion, please come in. The video and everything will be in with the YouTube links on Where's My Sage. So
It's all about the segue.
Yeah. It's all about the segue. And I have to say, I'm going to just break up the segue. I had the opportunity to go and see Dustin's show at Joe's shop at the venue.
Oh, nice.
In Buffalo, yeah, because that's where I'm at. And it was just great. And we got to see both of you speak in Michigan as well. So it was really awesome to see somebody who does all the paranormal talk about the deeper and talk about the personal side of things and just how you equate things to life in general. It was really awesome. And I brought a good friend of mine with me, and she really enjoyed it as well. So having the two of you team up to do something, super excited. I cannot wait. I think it's going to be just, I just get your energy in the project is just, I see the advertisement and I see the, just the slide, and it gives me a really good feeling. So what is going on with that? And when are we going to do this?
It's hard to describe something new without using terms used for the old. And this is what I found with Pathways. It's not a TV show. People are like, when can I watch this? Can't. But you can. It's a live show that we're taking to theaters and auditoriums across the country that is interactive. There is an investigation that you will watch that Dustin and I have been on, but you are also a part of the team, because at certain points you will get to decide, do we go left? Do we go right? Do we go upstairs? Do we go downstairs? Do we go old school? Do we go new school? How do you want the investigation to unfold? And in between the video segments, say if one of them involved a pendulum session, after that scene plays out, you're now here live with Dustin and I in the auditorium. We can show you, we can put it in your hands, we can bring people up. And there's a little bit of not a game show aspect to it, but almost like a team competition type thing, where when you come in, everyone will be divided into their teams or their houses. And through trivia contests and participation, your team will win points, and there will be a winner at the end of the night. And it's just a night of fun. And again, I'm all about education, but you have to kind of slip it into entertainment. You have to trick them into learning.
I love it. It sounds like so much fun.
Project. So like literally you're watching it, and you watch the TV shows, you watch the movies, you're like, don't go in there. Okay, well then we won't go in there because you're going to tell us to go this way.
So is there a schedule of when this is going to go and run? And
I'm amidst the editing of it right now. We filmed the first week of January. Details can be found at whichpathwillyouchoose.com on the dates. We're keeping very up on the developments. Our first date was going to be at the end of this month, but it got pushed back to April. So our first premiere showing of Pathways is going to be in March in Phoenix, Arizona.
Next How come not Buffalo, New York?
It could be. I mean, we're trying to target different areas, and especially areas that we don't often get to, because the thing about Pathways, it doesn't have to be at a haunted location. And if anything, it won't be unless that theater is also haunted.
Right.
The first show was supposed to be in Durham, North Carolina. That one is now going to be in April. But the thing that I love so much about it is that the auditorium is down the street from the Rhine Research Center.
Ooh.
And if everybody watching is like, I don't know what that means. All right, here's a teachable moment right now. The Rhines, the Zener cards, everything that went into the parapsychological research that happened with JB and Louisa Rhine back in the 50s happened right there. And Dustin and I are gonna do a drop-in on those guys just to see how it's going.
Wow, that's awesome. So Linda asked a very good question. That was going to be my next one. How did this come about? How did you guys, how did this get started? How did you come up with the idea?
Dustin and I, it's like Wonder Twin Powers activates, and we've been in the biz for a long time. We've seen each other at conventions. We've kind of rotated around. We have all the same kind of friends in common,
Right.
and we've both respected each other from afar for quite some time. I want to say maybe a decade ago. We had made plan. We had briefly discussed, hey man, we should do some stuff together. Yeah, we should. And we got together on the road as we were both heading to different speaking events. We stopped at just some random parking lot in Connecticut, and we're like, hey, we're gonna be doing this thing, and it's coming up, and look forward to it. And nothing ever came of it because we just life took us in different directions. But
Right.
we ended up doing several events together last year. Oh, actually 2 years ago. He was a guest at my History of the Paranormal in Connecticut at the Leffingwell House. That went well, and we didn't really have time to talk or plan anything out, but come the hunt portion, we just fell into this simpatico, like, all right, we're bouncing off of each other. It was so natural. We're like, oh, this was effortless. Wow, this felt good. Hey, let's do
Right.
something else. And then we did an event that we called Somewhere in Time, where we dressed up, we dressed the part. So it was a little bit of cosplay to like a visual Singapore theory. Like, okay, we're gonna dress the part. Let's see what we can coax out. And we just had a great time. And the more we work together, we find that we work well together. So let's
Right.
keep doing it. So Pathways, baby.
That's awesome. You got to trust the process, right? If you have to force it, it's not meant to be. And when it's time, it'll just click and everything. Everything happens for a reason when it's ready. That's great. I love it. Love it. Love it.
I react to that the way some people react to the word moist. It's necessary, but it irks me.
Oh, well, but you know what? I mean, I have found in my life that whenever I tried to force something, or if I have an idea and it's not time yet, nothing works no matter what I do, and then one day, okay, now you're supposed to do this, or
Well, that
now
works.
this is supposed to
That I
happen.
have no problem with. The everything happens for a reason. I want to kick to the curb.
Fair enough.
Don't do what I would do, but if you do it twice.
Really? You're going to be spending a lot of time with me in a couple of days.
Kill me in a car. Yeah, we'll get lost chasing Bigfoot. We'll have to bring the fire log with us so Heather can burn it. In
The fire log. Is that did that say KFC?
Yeah.
KFC fire log. Yes.
Does it smell like? Does it have 13 herbs and spices in it?
Oh, yes, it does.
Oh, what?
Yep.
Oh man,
Fried chicken flavor.
I'm jealous now.
Yeah.
Where can one procure such logs?
It was a Christmas present, but Walmart had it as a special.
Oh man,
it does. It's right here next to the thing, and it's like, man, I'm trying to go on a diet, but man,
that's awesome. I got to get myself some of those.
Yeah.
So
So we're gonna try it for some Bigfoot bait. See what happens. So
You're gonna attract more black shirts.
I'm hoping. Yeah. I'm not bringing the donuts with me, but yeah. So out of all the investigations, you do the most of the paranormal. What have you done? UFOs? Have you done cryptids to really get out and find something, off the wall and different than the standard spiritual encounters at haunted houses? Or
I've been steeped in the ghost and spirits world for a long time, but since coming on, since doing Paranormal Caught on Camera, just because we get videos from all the different areas of the paranormal, I have been tasked with learning more about those things. And even this past year at Michigan Paracon, I was on a UFO panel with like Nick Redfern and some heavy hitter UFO guys. And then there was me. I'm thinking like, what am I doing here? But just like anything else, you have to start somewhere. And I really do believe there's a unifying theory, and that, all right, if you look at ghosts and spirits, take demons, okay, Catholic view of a certain type of spirit. Well, in the Middle East, maybe those demons are jinn, okay? Look off our planet. Maybe those entities are extraterrestrial. Maybe they're interdimensional. Oh, why can't we find solid evidence of proof of life of Bigfoot aside from, plaster cast of 1 foot? Maybe Bigfoot is interdimensional. Maybe there's something that maybe he's an extraterrestrial. Maybe, maybe. And there's all this overlapping that goes on with all the different disciplines that there's no reason that they should be separate.
Again, I agree.
Awesome.
Yep.
I was looking for my UV light and can't find one.
Well, that being said, I've been leaning on Ronnie LeBlanc from Expedition Bigfoot. I'm like, dude, when am I going squatching with you? He's like, oh yeah, we'll get you. We'll do it. I'm like, when? Oh yeah, we'll do it. When? Oh yeah, we'll do it. When? Still waiting.
We'll take you.
We'll take you.
We'll take you. Michael,
We're in the Northeast.
When he's not leaving me in the woods by myself.
I did that once. I didn't really leave you. We used you as bait.
Yeah.
Well,
I rest my case.
We used you. Ryan and I used you as bait, and Sheila and I used you for bait. This week we'll have Ron and Heather use you for bait. You got the whale strip. Where else cool do you really want to head to
Japan?
Japan.
I really want to go to Japan. I mean, I've been to Ireland. I've been to Australia. I've been to Peru. I've been to lots of places, but there's a majority of Europe and Asia that I have not gone to. And with Japan, for me, it'll be such a culture shock. The language, the traditions, the attitudes towards the paranormal that I really want to have a lost in translation experience where I'm just fish out of water and I'll be able to learn as much as I can from their perspective.
Very interesting.
Do you spend a lot of time looking at the folklore or oral traditions or even written traditions in an area that kind of get you going on a topic?
Sometimes, I mean, my buddy on the show, Lynn McNeil, she's a folklorist, so I appreciate the folklore. And for Paranormal Caught on Camera, we often have to do a bit of research on specific clips to go, well, maybe it's this or maybe it's that. And just seeing the different stories from different cultures that do have overlapping elements, which again lead me back to there's a unifying theory. We all might have different names for something, but maybe the truth of the matter is very much the same thing.
So true. I mean, we're just finding more and more stuff and more evidence of, cultures that have blended or, was there a different land bridge coming a different way? We all think it all comes this way when I've been coming the other way. So where do you think your journey's taking you next?
Oof. That's a good question. I mean, my 2022 is pretty full with bookings for different things. I hope to be going on my book tour sometime this year. I've got Pathways, History of the Paranormal, along with other appearances and conventions. That's work and it's fun. Where will my adventures take me? I don't really know. And I'm a wanderer at heart, so I'm fine with it that way. I almost feel like my year is too planned out, but I like those detours and diversions. I will always pick the road less traveled instead of traveling a major highway. I love snaking through the backwoods and just really feeling the essence of a place, and the discoveries that we make when we're doing that sometimes have just paid off dividends that I never would have imagined.
That's great. Sometimes we can be too involved in this kind of thing. We need a break from it as much as we do enjoy it. What do you like to do for fun? Do you mind sharing that?
Balance is important. I love that's the thing. So many people assume that if you're in the paranormal, that's all you do and all you consume. And they're like, oh, did you see this show last week? No. Did you do this? No. What about this paranormal? Don't care. I don't watch any of the other shows. Like I'll maybe watch one of every show just to either support a friend or be aware of what's out there. But when I'm home, I don't want to be doing paranormal. I watch a lot of stand-up comedy. I watch funny things. I need that balance so that there's a lot of dark stuff out there.
Right.
I need an equal amount of lights. I'm a homebody, so I like sun. Winter, I get that seasonal affectation disorder thing. It's just I like sun, even though we're in the paranormal and it's always nighttime. I like sun. I will be a horrible vampire. I'm a gamer. I love playing games, like board games and card games. I
Oh,
made my
cool.
own called the Three Pillars. We
Oh,
talked
all
about that
right.
before. That too is on my website. I love figuring things out. So if it's
Yeah.
anything strategic like that, I dig it.
Okay. Good.
So your brain's got to be on the go, or it just can't be sitting. It's got to be
It's always
burning.
moving. I mean, I'm a pop culture junkie, so I'm always digesting shows and TV, and I love the MCU. I'm always talking about Marvel and things of that type. I've got a podcast called the Three Geek Senate with Paul Bradford and Robin Bunkshar. We don't do it as much as we'd like to, but I have outlets for all my different interests and just not enough time to get to them all.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
Completely understand as I sit in this room and jewelry making and knife making and martial arts studio all in the same room and this. So what's the best evidence you've come across?
The best evidence. That's a tough one. I mean, I feel like I should have a boilerplate answer, like, oh well, it was this pen that we recovered from a. I don't have one because, again, for me, even though I'm a believer these days, I'm still resistant. It's that skeptical nature of mine that it will take me a while, and it's almost like I go through the phases of loss anytime some new information comes in. There's denial, there's anger, there's bargaining, and eventually there's acceptance. So many of the things that have happened and that I've experienced are kind of buffering, if you will. They're still processing. But if I were put to the task to pick one piece of evidence, it would be from the Grand Midway Hotel, place in Windber, Pennsylvania, where we got an EVP on the camera that we were filming on. And it wasn't meant for us. It wasn't just a word. It wasn't just a phrase. It was a conversation. We got two snippets where the voice said, "Can you break out of the circle of fire?" And a second voice said, "Die." What does it mean? The whole story behind that, part of that 45-minute story that you can read about in Grains of Sand. But for me, that day was so chock full of experiences that could be linked as evidence, and it pretty much checked all the boxes. Like, oh, well, that happened, and that happened, and that happened. Oh, and this happened. That the only thing I have left to experience in my evidence box, I have yet to see a full-bodied apparition where I feel like I'm talking to somebody, and then I'm like, "Yeah, Mike, I just talked to that dude out on the corner." He's like, "What are you talking about?" "Oh, he's got long blonde hair." So, "You must be talking about Old Smokey. He died 40 years ago." Like, I can't have that.
Right.
But if you had at least an apparition, then at least a floater, or just
Partials. I've had partials. Never full
Okay.
bodied, and never to the point where I was fooled into thinking they were an actual person.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, it's an experience.
So, yeah, I could look back on this podcast and be like, "Oh yeah, I was just on the podcast with Mike and Christy," and Christy would be like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Yeah, with Mike. Mike died in a fire 4 years ago." "What? Who are we talking to?" "I don't know what you're talking about." Bigfoot.
Green screen.
There's no Mike. That's the experience. And again, it's a mind screw in that again, it'll take you. How many times may that have happened to all of us out there in the world, but we never got confirmation that it wasn't so? Who knows how many of the people out there are extraterrestrials just in guises, or spirits, or black-eyed kids, or other things that just, to us, we don't see the truth, and we need those Roddy Piper glasses to put on to see that they're aliens looking to control us.
Maybe that's why they're bringing the Matrix back around.
So what is What's the most valuable thing you've learned about yourself in doing all of this work all these years?
Because the paranormal, like I said, is such a social thing, one of the biggest takeaways that anyone could take from it, in addition to the bonds that one forms with living people, is a healthy measure of self-actualization, self-knowledge, getting to know really who you are and know that you're incomplete. There's room for growth. You can change, and it's okay. Um, we've seen it in society recently that people will pick a side and go down with the ship no matter what. And whereas that used to be restricted to just sporting events, it's like, yeah, that's my team and we're going to go down because there were no real stakes. Now we've been seeing that mentality in situations where there's some very real stakes and have, larger meanings for us as a whole. But I always go back to Kevin Smith's Dogma. I paraphrase it that um, it's hard to have a belief because a belief is unchangeable, unflinching. And people die for it, people fight over it. But if you have an idea is malleable. You can change it. When some new information comes in, you go like, oh, well, you change that idea. And I feel like for myself, I was not quite as pliable in the beginning when I was a skeptic because arms folded, like, none of this, nope. Now I'll accept other possibilities. I'll consider different things. And I feel like, as a scientist should, a scientist is a dreamer. You think about things that maybe don't exist and you try to find a way to get to it. Or if you get new information, it's okay to do a 180. It doesn't mean you're waffling. It doesn't mean you're not strong in your convictions, but you are there to follow the evidence, wherever that may lead you.
That is the best way of putting it. If we don't collect that data, if we don't have that data, if we don't analyze that data, we're kind of shot.
Right.
That's it's an amazing thought to go that way.
Well, it's like when I was a kid, I love dinosaurs. And I mean, what kid doesn't love dinosaurs? And I thought, oh, maybe I'll be a paleontologist when I grow up. Like, ooh, that's just something you could do. Oh, well, I'll be a paleontologist. And I had my little plastic dinosaurs and I would play with them. And back when I was a kid, it's like we had 5 dinosaurs: Tyrannosaurus, Brontosaurus, Triceratops. Like, we only had a few of them. Now we have all the different classifications and all the different variations of each genus and species. And now we know they evolved into birds, and there's all this different stuff, and maybe they all had feathers. But back then, with the 5 dinosaurs we had, I remember this. I forget exactly what year it happened. They discovered, that Apatosaurus skeleton that we have in the museum. You know what? We put the wrong skull on. That's the wrong. We've gotten it wrong this whole time. And the concept of what we thought was that animal radically changed. Now, of course, there was no. It's not like they're around now. There's no one to get mad about it. But they found a better fit, and they said we were wrong. Here's the new information, and that was a lesson that subconsciously I thought was pretty cool. That they're not going to go down with the ship because, again, no one's seen a dinosaur, no one's going to see one, so they didn't really have to change the record. It would have affected no one, but they came out and they said, all right, got more information, we're revising what we said, this is now it. Or even more relevant to the general public, when Pluto stopped being a planet. All right, it's still there, it's just different from what we thought it was.
And I think that's the big thing we're seeing, on the whole family, be it the spiritual end, the cryptid end, or whatever, is that, we can really relook at what we get from the evidence that is out there. I mean, every day we're coming up with or at least every other month lately, seems like we're coming up with another ancestor that they keep finding. Or, what is this, the warp drive that they just came up, found or released, let's just say. It's interesting to see a lot of that stuff. So is there a particular piece of equipment that you have grown attached to in your years that you really like to use? And like you said you're using some of that old school stuff. I mean, for the new kids like myself that are getting into it, I still want to run around with thermal cameras and laser thermometers and, all these stuff that a small remodeling company is going to use to look for, it's not real, what is it, So what is your favorite piece of equipment, I guess, or is there something that you would suggest for a new kid?
I'm horrible at favorite questions. I hate them because there's too many things to choose from and too many good options. However, I will say that when it comes to equipment, there is a definite bell curve in that when you first get into it, you don't know what to buy and you don't have anything. You don't have money. So you're like, all right, you just have whatever you have. I think the first piece of equipment I bought was the Elf Zone meter, which I kind of joke around as I call it Fisher Price's my first EMF detector because it looks like something Fisher Price would make.
Okay.
When I first got it, I'm like, I've got it now. Now to detect all the ghosts. And as you evolve, the bell curve starts going up, and that you buy more stuff and more stuff and more stuff, and then you arrive to a location with cases and cases and cases and cases, and that's why you have to form a team because you need someone to carry all these cases. And you arrive, it takes you 3 hours to set up, 2 hours to break down. You're missing everything that's happening, and you're at the top of that bell curve, and you're like, oh, this is dumb, this is annoying, I'm tired. And then you realize, oh, wait a minute, my body can sense a lot of these things. I'm missing the forest for the trees. And as you come down on the other side of that bell curve, for me now, whatever's portable. So an EMF detector, audio recorder, my pendulum.
Yep.
I've gone old school in that. And sometimes just some random thing. Like I'm always trying out new stuff from Gary Galka. And as he comes out with new stuff, I'm like, yeah, let me take this and let me try it out. Let me test it out. But if I start having too much to carry, it takes away from me being able to experience things. And
Absolutely.
you have to be present for that. So your 5 senses, your 6th sense, and your 7th sense, which is common sense. We all need to start using it.
Excuse me.
Not everything is a ghost.
That's right. No, not everything is a ghost. That is absolutely right. My favorite and the best tried and true method for me, I don't have a ton of equipment, but I have some. I don't like to use it really as it is. Mike usually is in charge of whatever equipment I have. But my favorite thing is my mag light. I have the best luck with that. They will communicate with me. Even if he puts his out and I put mine out, they'll use mine.
Let me ask you a question. Do you unscrew it to do the little flashlight thing, or do you leave it completely screwed in?
I do loosen it, and then I keep it away from me.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I see Mike responding. He's on mute.
Yep.
Well, for me,
that's 2 for tonight. So yeah.
And here's my issue. And here it's okay for us to disagree, but here's why you're wrong. You know what would be impressive? If you kept it screwed in as per the operating specs. Spirit, turn it off. That would be impressive. But if you take anything and cause it to possibly malfunction in a way that it was not designed to do, like, all right, let's do the same test with our car. Go outside and disengage the battery a little bit. It's like, Spirit, if you want me to get home, let the car turn on. It turned on, and then it goes on. Oh, Spirit, rev once for yes, twice for no. Like, for it to turn on and off, there's thermal inversion. There's reasons why it's happening, and in a binary system like yes or no, that will eventually go on. So you can ask that question 5 times. Maybe it'll turn on the first time, maybe it'll turn on the 5th time, but it will eventually happen.
Okay, fair enough.
But here's the thing, and here's what makes you different from other people, in that you don't need the flashlight for this because you're already getting it. The flashlight might be visual confirmation, but a lot of people, again, they'll see that on TV and go, "Oh, I'm a ghost hunter now."
Right.
Turn the flashlight on, and I want to go murder someone. They don't understand that you're doing it because you're already sensing things.
Yeah.
This is a confirmation. So, but to them, they're like, "Oh, flashlight equals ghost hunting equipment. And
And
I'll get worked up again. This is
no, that's okay. And I'll
no.
be the first to admit that it was somebody, and I don't remember who it was back when I first started with the actual, because paranormal investigations and things were not at they were not when wasn't called to do that until 5 or 6 years ago. So it was somebody who did it all the time that said, this is how you do it. Quite honestly, I never thought to leave it screwed in completely. Have you left it in, and have you done it that way? And have you had it turn on and off when you didn't manipulate it at all? I'm very, very curious, honestly, because it just never crossed my mind, because that's how I was taught. So, and you're right, because I don't have to do it. It was just something extra to do.
We see electrical interference all the time. So when lights go on and off, it's not like someone went and unscrewed all the bulbs and like, all right, let's talk to spirits.
Mhm.
If they can interfere with electrical systems, then it should be able to be done either way. And that's the thing. You and I go on an investigation together. I don't really necessarily want you to use things like that, but I will constantly be like, Christy, how are you feeling? What are you feeling? Or again, I've got my meter. Beep, 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 beep. That's all it can tell me. But I'm like, all right, there's something here. Christy, get over here. What do you feel over here? So I haven't found a better way to describe it, but I'm like, all right, psychics are tools.
Yeah.
You can translate the energy in a way that I can't. My meter can't. My meter goes beep, 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 0.4. You could go, oh, his name is Bob.
Yeah.
He's, you're the translation matrix for that. This is, again, why you need 3 pillars, because
I agree.
Any baseball team, you have 9 pitchers. All right, no one's at first, no one's in outfield, no one's catching. Like, everyone doing the same thing. You need all the different positions to play the game.
I love it. No, I agree 100%. I'll be the first one, even doing a reading or something. I'll let somebody know, you know what? I'm getting this information. I don't quite understand it, but my job is to give you what I'm receiving. Here you go. Because maybe it's not meant for me to understand. So
I'm getting more worked up on this show. Mercury retrograde. That's all I'm going to say.
Are we in some sort of Capricorn moon too, or something like that? No, but I love it. Have you tried that though? Have you done that with because you're absolutely right. They can turn major light sources on or off. They can mess with, I have burned out 2 laptop computers energetically. It was not a good day in my house with my ex.
Those are expensive.
They are expensive. They're still sitting up in my closet for anyone who knows how to fix them. Because but honestly, I mean, so we know those things can happen. Have you done the flashlight thing without actually turning it or adjusting it?
No, because I don't. I use them for light. I want them to stay on, but I'll use REM pods. So it's like, all right, if you want to interact with something, interact with these. And again, who's to say that they're not doing it anyway? Because we've all experienced it. We go to a place. We know we've charged our batteries. We've bought fresh batteries. We plug it in. We walk inside. Everything's dead. And we can't explain it accurately. We can say, oh, this must be paranormal. Do we know? No. But you go back outside and everything works again. Something's afoot here.
There's a connection somewhere, right? Yep. No, I love it. That's great.
That's when it goes in a notebook, and when you go back to the location, does it replicate itself, and can you continue to replicate the things? Sorry, that's just how I am. So
it's all good. We need to be that way, right?
Yeah.
So
we did the UAV thing. So.
Yeah. Is there any place that you would like to go back to? Like, do you feel like you have unfinished business somewhere that you would like to go back and continue or do something different or something like that? Where would it be? Maybe there isn't one.
I tend to like to go back to places, but like I alluded to earlier, more to maintain the human connection.
Mm-hmm.
So far, there really isn't an investigative place that I'm like, I didn't get enough of it there. Although I do like returning to places when I can. There's just only so many weekends in a year. That being said, I want to get in the White House. I want to get into some places that really have their mark on history in a human way, because that stress, that all the important things that have happened in there have left a mark. And I don't really have a specific answer for that question, but I do love returning to places over and over. However, my wandering nature, I don't want to keep going back to them where I'm like, oh, I'm spending all my time in this location. I want to go to that new spot over there, or what's down
Yeah.
that road.
Right.
Always looking for the horizons. And I saw
I
someone
get
in the
it.
chat saying, oh, think outside the box. But we have to realize it's not thinking outside the box. There is no box.
Yep. You're right. It could be a circle for all we know. It could be nothing.
Well,
I like your point.
To pick a shape to enclose is
Right.
is inferring
Right.
restrictions. So
Right.
it's like
That's maybe a poor example, but I was trying to reinforce your point of we don't know. It could be anything, but it's not. There is not any one.
well,
real.
the way
Yeah.
we think about things, and again,
Right.
it's all our perspective. Our perspectives color everything that we receive. So if we perceive a box, then there's a box. If we think outside the box, there's still a box. So what we have to do is dispel the box.
Mhm.
There is no box. But let's think of a way to move forward. And for me, this is something that I started teaching several years ago, and I call it paralosophy. It's paranormal philosophy. And I want people to think more and do less. Think more, do less. I stole that from carpentry. Measure twice, cut once.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
52 weekends out of the year, we have all these teams running around, doing this, running that, doing that. Paranormal is not going to be solved next weekend, so we've got time. So let's settle down. Let's think about what we're doing. Let's think about why. Let's think less about the how and more about the why.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we use EMF detectors? Well, Zach used it. No, why do we use them? Well, current theory is spirits either give off EM or that they disrupt the EM field as they pass through it. So that's what we're measuring. But maybe we're measuring the wrong thing because, like we were talking about at the top of the show, we have no set graph of data to show, well, this bears out. People will ask me at events, oh, on my millimeter, what indicates a ghost? I'm like, I don't know. We don't have that information yet. And we're nowhere even close to compiling that scale. And that's maybe because we're measuring the wrong thing. And this is applicable to so many different areas. The latest thing that irks me in the paranormal is the method from out there in the famous place in Colorado. I'm not even going to speak its name. People see it on TV. They do it without necessarily understanding why, and that there are better ways to do it that aren't being explored because somebody famous on TV did it. And I want people to really start considering the whys and doing less of the imitating. And actually somebody in the chat said, oh, there's a lot of imitation. They're right. But it's not always their fault, because if there's not a place to learn from, then all they can do is imitate. So that's why
you're right.
Podcasts are important. That's why events are important. That's why all the things that we're doing to try to get that information out there is so important. And again, education, hide it in entertainment. We gotta trick them into learning.
Slip it in. But you're right.
I mean, that's just it. It's when I got thrown into the paranormal thing, it's like, here's a piece of equipment. We're going to unhaul. What does this thing do?
Yeah.
It's got lights, it flashes. Okay. Oh, here's this, SLS. What does this do? How does it work? Well, it doesn't work in my brain. I know I can grab one of my 6 million thermal cameras and take a look, or a biofield imager or something like that, and say, okay, I can measure light waves or energy or something like that. But how many times do folks take 4 pieces of equipment and put them next to each other, which is probably going to interfere with every piece of equipment that's there next to each other? So I see it. Oh, it worked because it worked off of energy. But you've got 5 pieces of equipment together.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. The whole adage, we don't do crystal healing. Crystals and rocks don't do anything. But what's your cell phone? It's crystals and rocks. So we're doing something to get that energy. It's hello, it's there. The
crystals and rocks. I never thought. You're right. Crystals.
Yeah,
and rocks.
but that's all it is. It's crystals and rocks.
Yeah.
My buddy Steve's got a great thing about, oh my God, you see Bigfoot with UFOs. Well, don't you see a lot of cattle mutilations too? So are the cows coming, or are the cows getting abducted? What's going on here? Is it a Wendy's commercial? I mean, and again, that's my mentality is I have to see a data set of information before I can say, well, maybe that's kind of something I maybe want to go back and take a look at. So just wondering, like Chrissy said, is there a spot that goes back, but is there that one question go, how do I look at this a little different than the average TV investigator? What brings you down that path a little different on how your skeptic eye looks at how you analyze that data? Am I getting that point across?
I'm not sure. I can speak to, I mean, again, it comes down to paralosophy. I think more, do less. I don't want to copy. And if I do, you have to understand why you're doing that action. You have to understand your equipment. You have to understand what it does, how it operates, what principles it operates on. And if necessary, you should be able to field repair it when you're out there. You should it should be your best friend. So I would rather have one or two pieces of gear that I know inside and out than a whole Pelican case filled with things that I don't understand. And when it comes to doing the work, here's the thing. We're talking about this and we're assuming that everyone who's watching and everyone who's listening is on equal footing. There are different reasons that people are involved in this, and there's various levels. And parapsychologists love to build categories, and I've found that there are categories of interest. There's the paranormal tourist. It sounds like an insult, but it's not. It's tourist. You go, you want to experience, you want to have that roller coaster ride of, oh, I experienced something. They're not going to do anything more about that, and that's okay. All right. Then you have the paranormal investigator. All right. The investigator is someone who's probably been a tourist, found that they've got some questions they want to answer. They start getting serious about it. Maybe they buy some equipment. Maybe they form a team. They get the black shirts, get the acronym that has their name of their town forced into it. They got to start doing this and that. They got to go on the road. And we've all done it. We've all had that phase. And the people who started the team get divorced or break up or aren't friends anymore, and they start two different teams, and then now there's two teams, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then there's the researchers. Those are the people who, they're on teams, maybe they're individuals, but like you and I, Mike, we're thinking about the data. All right, where is this going? How can we corroborate this with stuff that's happened before? Because we're trying to advance. Now, tourists and the investigators, it's okay. Like, if you know where you are, there's no shame in not knowing something else, because again, you have to learn. And I've been doing this for 20 years. I equate every decade to one class. So I'm at the end of my sophomore year. I still have much more learning to do. So even next year, when I go into my third decade, I'm just starting my junior. I'll have plenty more to learn, and we all have to go through it. But we also have to be clear about why we're doing it and what classification we're in, because we could be at an event and there's people doing the flashlight trick over there, and I might get mad, but I can't get mad at them because they're just tourists. They don't know. They shouldn't know. This doesn't change their life in any way. But we live it. We breathe it. We do this. This is who we are. So to us, there's more at stake. And I think if there's a way to identify that, or at least the very least understand that people are doing this for different reasons, there'd be less harsh judgment. And I can be a very harsh judge when it comes to people that I perceive as not taking things seriously. Because in some way, the general public, which still greatly outnumbers our paranormal bubble, looks at any person in our bubble and judges the entire group because of it. So the tourists, all right, might do something silly or run around or yell or do something that seems off or wrong that maybe you and I wouldn't do, but we're judged based on their behavior.
Yeah, that's true. I think if people too, that also makes people afraid to follow their instincts or follow their intuition. And like you said, don't think outside the box that really doesn't exist, right? But just to do things in general, I think that kind of quashes that idea. And it's sad because
I'm going to need some Reiki after this, because like you see how worked up I'm getting. You gotta
I got
send me
you.
some.
I got
some
you.
Just flow.
If this is you getting worked up, I'd love to see when you're really worked up because your energy
You want
still
to get
feels
nuts?
really good.
Come on, let's get nuts.
We do have the habit of pushing people's buttons. Like I said, we try to pull and go outside those outside questions because it isn't
Yeah.
always a journey. Because now, like I said, that first timer that's like, well, what equipment do I need, or what you really need to, like you said, look at that history. When you and I talked earlier, just before, what is that focal? Where does that background? You're going to go look in Wales for history there. You've got your show with Dustin. You're pulling that craziness of we're going to go right, we're going to go left, and I use it as a good way of just opening people's mind, getting them off the couch, and getting them out. I mean, that's so awesome that this is just a wonderful push, and I'm really looking forward to your book because it's for somebody like I said, me that kind of got thrown into the paranoid. I showed up thinking I was doing a Bigfoot thing, and next thing I know is I was doing a paranormal investigation. And hey, these two guys were on this TV show, and this guy was on this TV show, and you're going with them because of their background and your background, and we're going to haunted jail. So let's see how they. My God, I love Mike and Brian because it was just a great. Again, you go out on these adventures, you make great friends. We joke about the guys from Mount Monster. Man, I love spending time with those guys with Buck and Wild Bill, and okay. But again, it's an entertainment value. But man, they love their fans. They love people. I love hanging out with them. We're at different events together. So yeah, that journey that we all take, the folks that we met with you guys and the others out there in Michigan, that just tripped for us. I mean, we've been to a bunch of different events together and separately, but man, it was just that energy and that UP must be the copper in the water or something like that. I don't, it really is. It's. I got looking at ghost ships years ago because I started as divers and, looking at some of that history and, I don't dive
I got to
much
tell you
anymore.
though, at that Michigan Paracon, it was 2-3 years ago. Probably one of the best EVP sessions I ever had with a group of people was up in the mess hall of that vessel that we investigated. And it was just every group that came through, it was like, wow, like the interaction is great. And then you send them to the next Paracelab, and it's like, all right, well, it's going on right here. And the experiences we had, people still come up to me and they're like, oh, remember that time? I said, yeah, I do.
That's cool.
That was something else. And I don't remember what the EVP said. I don't remember the activity, but I remember the human connections and the excitement. And, you always get couples who come and the ladies are there because they want to experience the paranormal. And the boyfriends are like, yeah, I'm a skeptic. I just drove her. But then you see their eyes open like, oh, I heard that. It's like, we got one.
Yep. Recruited another. That's great. All right. So why don't you tell us again one more time before we have to wrap up? This 2 hours has flown by, hasn't it?
It really has. Yeah.
We could talk to you all night. This is great. So share again what you have up and coming for everybody who maybe, because I know we have some people who just joined in.
And I got the slides.
Okay, I've got my upcoming trip to Wales with Mysterious Adventures Tours. Only 4 tickets remain, so if you want to get in on that, go to that website or my website, neverstopsearching.com. I'm going to be continuing with my History of the Paranormal Mobile Exhibit this summer in Grafton, Ohio, with my special guest, Mike Ricksecker. And as far as special guest goes, none more special in my life right now other than Dustin Parry. He and I are teaming up to do the Pathways Project, which is an interactive live theater tour where you will watch videos and you will get to decide. It's like a virtual choose your own adventure. Which way do Brian and Dustin go? And there's audience participation, all sorts of fun stuff. I'm also doing a lot of convention appearances. My book, Grains of Sand, is coming out, knock on wood, next month. And again, for all things Brian, neverstopsearching.com.
That's right
That was
there.
good. And you used your speaking voice. That was good.
You notice that, right?
I did. Nice job. Very nice. That's great. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you. Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much
having
for
me, guys.
joining us. Gosh,
Thank
we could
you.
talk all night with you. This is great. Love the conversation because you always have to keep expanding. You know, you need
Yeah.
other points of view. You need other people's experiences to build on your own and to know what works for you and to learn who you are. So it's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My goodness.
Okay, gonna pull Brian here from the screen. So one
Okay.
click. So we got
Wow.
some crazy adventures coming up. Hopefully, if the weather holds up this weekend and I'm not sick
And my health
again.
holds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fingers
So
crossed.
yeah. So keep an eye on our YouTube channel. Keep an eye on our Instagram. If we're stuck in a car, you guys know it's always an interesting
Oh, yeah.
run. We're gonna try to get down and meet some prior guests and get with them and go look for some fairies and UFOs and some other stuff. So we do appreciate you guys listening in. Again, please check out the audio portions on Spreaker, Spotify, and iTunes. And I've been talking like crazy, Chrissy. So if you got something to add.
So next week we have a message. So it'll be spirit messages. I can't talk all of a sudden. Yes, spirit messages. Sorry, guys. This is all catching up with me now. Yes. So I know it's been a while. So next week will be spirit messages. So tune in for that. Get your questions ready. And we're going to make Mike work. And we will actually welcome people into the studio with us, which we love to do. It's always fun to have you all live with us. So yeah, tune in for that. 8:00 next week.
Okay, guys.
So
Be safe and
sample on.
sample on. Where's my button? There it is.